like 20 to 30 kilometer, whatever it is, park in the middle of the city, well, the edge of the city. So we meet up and we go for walks or bike rides. And I'm like, this is way more exercise than I'm used to.
Yeah, well, like there's nothing else to do, right? Like just walk and bike and kind of been it.
It's nice because
it's been nice.
You're outside, it gets you out of the house, it's fresh air, and you don't even feel like you're in the city.
Totally.
Okay.
All right. So how is everyone doing tonight? Have you guys been enjoying this beautiful weather? I mean, here in Manitoba, it's been so nice. Like, it feels like we just like jumped into summer, everything burst into green, like pretty much overnight. And I've been like in my garden 24/7 other than working. Just like, I love it so much. Okay, we're going to jump right into coaching because we have an hour and I want to make the most of it. So if you have a question about any of the course content, we could start with those. And then from there, we'll just do some individual coaching for whoever wants it. So anybody have questions about the course? Not so much? You're all like, I get this stuff. I can teach it. I'm ready.
No, not that confident.
Does anyone find themselves like catching your thinking in a different way than you were before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A little bit.
I'm aware, but I still majorly avoid. I do all the avoidance techniques and like, I don't want to deal with it, but I'm aware.
Right.
And I've gotten so triggered this week. I don't know what it is about this last week and into this week. Holy Hannah, like so triggered over everything.
Yeah. So what does that look like for you when you get triggered?
I want to do all the coping mechanisms, but I'm aware of my coping mechanisms, so I spent a lot of time talking myself out of it.
Okay.
It's been a roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have like any examples?
Which one to use? Let's do the finance one. Like, I am very lucky. I can work from home.
Yeah.
However, I'm majorly triggered by all the uncertainty. So like, even though I have the security of a job and I have full-time hours, and I've just recently switched to full-time because I was in school. But for some reason, even going through this course, like every example that I feel like comes up has something to do with finances, and like I don't have proper belief systems with finances.
Right.
So I just, even though I have security, all the thoughts are triggered. I'm not safe. I don't have enough saved. I don't want to buy food because like I'm scared to spend money right now. Due to uncertainty. So all of that stuff, I feel like I'm spiraling a little with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's like a massive cycle and I don't know how to get off it right now.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about the food example maybe. So when it's like you start noticing that you need to buy something, you're out of something, what is the thought process for you? What happens?
I won't go right away. I'll wait a few days. Like I will wait till I am down to like my fridge is bare. I have an apple, things. It's weird. Like, because food has been like a comfort thing for me, but I feel like now it's kind of shifting. Like I'm almost like, I'm talking myself out of buying anything.
Right.
And like the thoughts are, they're fear-based. A lot of them are
Yeah.
fear-based. I'm scared to spend money.
So when your
I don't
food
know.
is running low and you're thinking about going to the grocery store, the thought is, I'm scared to spend this money.
Yeah, and scared to go to the store, I guess, too. Like it's
Right.
all
Which is
triggered.
a whole separate thing, right? Yeah.
It's
Totally.
a whole, yeah.
Let's stick with the
Because I
money
just
thing for
went
now,
this
though.
evening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So
I
like,
just went this evening and like I literally in my car, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm freaking out. Just it was Walmart and like Walmart is okay. Like there's a lot of people, it was just so like I was in a panic. Just I have to go to Walmart. I have to spend money. And like on the way home, it was just it was frustrating.
yeah, okay, let's use that example. So you went because your food was running low. Is that why?
Yeah.
And so you thought to yourself, what was the thought that was making you anxious in the car?
That I have to spend money right now, I guess.
Okay.
Even if it is something that I need.
Right. And why does that thought make you, or not, why does that thought make you anxious? Like, is there more to that thought? Like, I have to spend money, and what does that mean that makes you anxious? Like, is it like, I don't have the money to spend on this?
I do. That's the problem. Like,
right. But are you thinking in the moment that you don't? Or is it something else?
I don't know. It's probably deeper, to be honest, because I do have the finances. I have like a full-time job. I can pay for stuff.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, because of I just did a year of university and I did student loans, so I'm coming out of the whole being on student loans back into full-time. Mm-hmm. So I think also now that you owe all the student loans kind of thing weighs on me a lot more. And so knowing I have to pay that back, I've never had that much debt.
There's just like an underlying thing of like, I don't have enough.
Yeah, I think so. Like it's attached to something. I don't know what yet, but it's weird because I have the finances. Like,
right.
So well, I don't know.
That's good to know. Like, okay, the circumstances, food is running low. You're going to go to Walmart. There's money in the bank. Those are the circumstances, right?
Yeah.
And that's all good. But then your brain has a default setting, which is telling you, I have to spend money. And if it was just I have to spend money, then I don't think you would feel anxious just from that. It's something else that makes you anxious, right? Like it's like, I have to spend money and I shouldn't. Or I have to spend money and I don't want to because I don't feel like there's enough, or I want to stockpile it, or like there's something else there that creates the anxious thing.
Well, I mean, obviously COVID for sure. Like I've been triggered a lot more, but it's also, I think, attached to knowing I have all the student loans now as well. Okay. So maybe it's just amplified with both. I don't know.
Do you feel like you shouldn't spend money because you should be putting it towards your student loans?
I think so. Honestly, yeah. Like, I feel like and my friend said this to me the other day. She's like, Delia, you still have to live. Mm-hmm. Like, because I'm in this, like, every single dollar that I make has to go towards the loan because, like, I don't like having debt. Yeah. And so, I don't know. I've like, every single day, something has been triggered and it's somehow all attached and I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so right now what we have so far is when you think the thought, I have to spend money, but I should be using that money to pay off my student loans, then you feel anxious.
Yeah.
So when you feel anxious, you mentioned some of the things that you do. You avoid going to the store.
Yeah. Until there's I talk myself out of going. I talk myself out of, I do not need like a massive meal, I need like a few carrot sticks and celery. Like I'll talk myself into stuff like that.
Right.
And one of my triggers and like coping mechanisms is like, okay, I'll just go buy something online. Every single day, multiple times a day, that comes up, and I've talked myself out of that. Okay. And on the flip side, I want to eat food, like as a comfort thing, but I talk myself out of that because that means having to spend the money. And it's like, it's
so do you end up buying things on, no, it's all good. Do you end up buying things online, or do you just have the thought?
I have the thought, and like I go on the website, I'm like, oh, maybe I want this, I could use this. But then I like stop and like talk myself out of it and close the website without purchasing anything.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I have made a few, but it's not crazy. Like I have like maybe 5 things, but
is it easier for you
to get a grip on this?
Is it easier for you to buy things than food?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'll justify buying something on Amazon that comes to my door rather than me going out and buying food that I need. It's backwards, I know.
It's not backwards. You need to stop judging yourself for having thoughts. It's okay. You're a human being. You have thoughts and feelings and you have actions. It's all good. There's no judgment.
I watched that model yesterday and I'm like, obviously I need to watch it again.
Yes, you could watch it again if you want. Okay. So when you are thinking, I have money to spend, but I should be paying off student loans, and you feel anxious. No, I have to spend money, but I should be using it to pay off my student loans. You feel anxious. So then you avoid going to the store. You talk yourself out of going. You talk yourself out of eating a full meal. You think I'll buy something online, and then you don't do it, or you do it and then you justify doing that instead of buying food that you really need. So the result of all of this is that you're not paying off your student loans any faster, right? You're still just making your normal payments, I'm guessing.
I haven't even started. That's the problem, actually.
Okay. So
because they're not
eating
charging
the food.
Interest right now.
Right. You're not doing any of it. You're not eating food, but you're also not paying off the student loans anyways.
No.
Right? Which is just so good to see. It's like, okay, when I think the thought, I have to spend money, but I shouldn't because I should be paying off student loans. I just get this result of like, I don't get either. I just
it doesn't make sense.
Well, it actually does make sense. It makes perfect sense because your brain is believing there's not enough, right? It's this scarcity mindset about money. There's not enough.
Yeah.
And when your brain believes there's not enough, the prover part of the brain will just look for evidence to prove that's true. So it'll look at every circumstance and every situation and go, see, there's not enough. See, there's not enough. See, there's not enough. And what it's doing right now is it's paralyzing you from making powerful decisions about your money at all, right?
So you just put words to what I was trying to say that I didn't know how to say.
That's what I'm here for, girl. That is what I'm here for.
It feels paralyzing. Like it feels like you're stuck or frozen in this thing. Like you know what you want to do, but it's just,
Yeah. And the thing is that is so great about coaching and what we're doing here is that instead of us just making a plan of what you should do next, we're going to talk about what you should think, what you can think next. Mm-hmm. And that thinking is where it all starts because that's the seed that creates the emotion that will motivate different action and get you a different result. So do you see right now though that like thinking I have to spend money and thinking I should be paying off my student loans, do you see that that's a choice? to think that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to switch to like a different thought if you're not noticing, oh, that's a choice I'm making to think that. But it sounds like you have that awareness.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easier when you're outside of like if you're in a moment of panic or anxiety and like those thoughts are running rampant, you can't. So
no, it's hard in the moment.
Right now I'm like, I've calmed down and I'm like, I'm in a peaceful place. I'm back in that place of like, you know what? Okay, let's start again. Let's start over. Well, then it's easier to have that awareness.
Right. There's 3 different levels of awareness. There's right after it happens or after it happens. There's in the moment, and then there's before it happens. So part of this program and what we're working on here is going to that next level of awareness, so that we're not only having these observations after the fact, which it's great that we're doing it after the fact. There's nothing wrong with that. But eventually we're going to notice it in the moment. We're going to be like, oh, this is what's happening. There's thoughts happening. They're creating feelings. I wonder what those thoughts are. And then eventually you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to plan out what I do next time I go to the store and I know that that feeling is going to come. I'm going to go into it with a thought, like proactively, and create different feelings before I even get in that situation. So that's kind of where we're headed. The levels are after the fact, in the moment, and then before the fact. Yeah. So let's talk about what you could think instead that could create more of a feeling that you want to have when it comes to the food's running low. Let's say it's the exact same situation, right? So the food's running low, you have to go to Walmart, there's money in the bank. What could you be thinking?
Well, there is enough. Like, I do have money to spend. Like, there is enough in my account and it's continually coming in to go and buy myself some food.
Does your brain believe that there is enough? Even a little bit?
I can see it, but yeah, I think there's definitely underlying belief systems that I have about money that, I don't know, maybe I need to do a thought download on that.
Well, no, what we just did was in a lot of ways, this was a thought download, right? Like the thought that your underlying belief is that there's not enough. And so now to think there is enough, the question is, can your brain believe that? Because if it can't, then we need to find a latter thought, a thought that can kind of help you get there. Because going from there's not enough to there is enough is a big jump. And sometimes our brains are like, no, I call BS on that and I'm not going to believe it. So a latter thought could be like, I'm learning to believe there's enough, or I'm learning to live as though there's enough. Does that feel believable to your brain?
Yeah. Okay. I'm learning to, what did you say?
I'm learning to believe there's enough. And we're talking about money here, but I don't think you need to necessarily put that in there.
Well, it's probably connected to a bunch of other stuff too, if I'm honest.
Right. Yeah. Scarcity usually is. It's kind of like this general default setting that applies to so many things. So does that feel believable? I'm learning to believe there's enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like a middle jump for sure.
So when you think that, how do you feel? Same circumstance, the food's running low, you got to go to the store, there's money in the bank, you're thinking, I'm learning to believe that there's enough. How do you feel?
Right now, it feels fine, but I think I'd have to check it out and actually go.
Well, imagine it right now. Like your brain doesn't know the difference of that you have to go right now or not. You can still think the thought, I'm learning to believe there's enough. What's the emotion?
I feel like I could get there. Like,
does it feel more calm or more hopeful or more
I'd say
relaxed,
hopeful.
hopeful? Okay. So then what action do you think you would take if you were feeling hopeful and you were thinking, I'm learning to believe that there's enough?
I'd like to think that I'm not anxiety stricken when I go into the store and get what I need. That would be a massive start.
Yeah. So less anxiety when you go. And then what about all the like talking yourself out of eating a full meal and talking yourself out of going to the store? If you're thinking, I'm learning to believe there's enough, would you be talking yourself out of going?
No. Anyway, I think not.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like that would help you just go, okay, what do I need? Make a list and go get what you need. No drama.
Yeah. Because it was not fun today. I was like, get me out of here.
It doesn't sound fun. Okay. So I want you to work on that thought. And all of you, when we're finding the intentional thoughts, a helpful image to think of is to think of your thought as like a 5-pound weight. And every day you just need to lift that weight. What? I had to switch rooms today because my Wi-Fi is so much better down here. So now I'm out in the open. You need to go. Go, go, go. I love you. So the thought is like a 5-pound weight, and it's just something you want to lift every day. And you want it to be like a thought that's like got a bit of weight to it, but not like you can't lift it, right? So it's got to be something that your brain can believe, and then you just practice and you think it intentionally at least once a day, right? This is even easier than the gym. You don't even have to do 30 reps. You just have to do 1. Just at some point in the day, remind yourself to think, I'm learning to believe there's enough. And then if you do that every single day for 63 days, your brain will now start offering you that thought as a default. So you'll be like looking in the fridge and it'll be empty, and you'll be like, I'm learning to believe that I have enough. So I'm going to make a list and I'm going to go to the store, and there's no drama, right? But in the meantime, it's going to offer you the old thought too, because you're in the middle. You're in the in-between. We call it the river of misery. It's not fun because your brain's like, pardon?
Do you write down them every day, or do you like, let's say I could do like a sticky and just remind myself every day? Like, what does that look like?
For me, I have a list in a journal that I write in every morning. I don't rewrite them. I just read them, because reading them is thinking them, right? Okay. But you could just put it as a reminder on your phone that pops up at a certain time every day. You could do a sticky note. You could kind of create like a pattern for yourself. Like every time I brush my teeth, I think an intentional thought about money or about whatever it is you're working on. It's nice to kind of like connect it to something that has nothing to do with it. Because we're always like, well, I'll just think it when I'm in the moment. When you're in the moment, that's the hardest time to think it.
Yeah.
Right? So your brain doesn't know the difference though. So if you just think it, even when you don't need it, your brain still creates that pathway. So I think the best way to do it is to think it when you don't need it.
Yeah. Because when you're in the moment, it's like you forget everything. I'm like, seriously, completely. I have all these tools. I know what to do or how to do it. But like, in Walmart today, I'm like, I was so lost. I was like, oh my gosh, like all this stuff I've learned.
Yeah. Well, and that's when you got to be gracious with yourself and just remind yourself this is hard and it's a process and it's okay, and not judge yourself.
Yeah, I need to work on that.
Awesome. That was such a good topic to coach on. Thanks for sharing where you're at. Okay, who would like to go next? Either questions about stuff you've been processing from the course or just any area where you're feeling stuck. Want a little feedback?
I'll share
Okay.
a situation that I kind of need some help through.
Okay.
So the other day,
Your sound is a little hard to hear. Oh, that's better already.
Okay, maybe I probably had my book on my speaker.
Perfect. I'm glad I said something because I'm like, I don't know if this is normal, but that's so much better.
So the other day, I got my son to cancel my Google Drive or Google Suite that I had, and
Okay.
he was supposed to do it a couple days earlier. He didn't, and I'm like, okay, you need to get it done before you go out. He's a 20-year-old kid. It's not like he's a guy. It's not a kid. So he did that, and then he told me he did. I'm like, okay, and I'm like thinking after, like shortly after he did, I'm like, wait a minute. All my documents for the last 8-10 years are attached to that. And I'm like, I was supposed to take it off and transfer it. And so I'm just like, okay, this isn't like, this could be catastrophic. So we looked at it later because he had to run off. He came back just before, 10 o'clock. We're looking at it and we're reading. And he's like, oh, I'll just be able to resubscribe. And we're reading and it says, warning, once you drop it off, like once you close it, all the data's gone, right? It's like, so panic started to rise. I'm like, but before that, I had a bit of chaos, but I also had a bit of peace, and about it. I even mentioned to my husband, he's like, well, aren't you on it right now? And I said, we'll figure it out. So my son was panicked. I said, don't worry about it. Go to bed because you have to get up and work, blah, blah, blah. So I started to try. I thought, I'm just going to call Google and get them to walk me through it. We should be able to do this. And I couldn't get the phone number. It's like getting into 11:30. I'm reading. I'm like, why can I not figure this out? Then I'm starting, like, these waves of panic starting to come. I'm like, this could be bad. Like, this is my business. This is accounting. This is everything. I'm like, trying to go. So, and I'm like, I would have stayed up all night trying to figure it out. And I thought, Kate, either I trust God in this or not. I'm going to go to sleep and I have a peace about it. So, and even in my sleep, I was rehearsing sort of like a preaching moment of either I believe that God delivered the Israelites and he can deliver me. But, so anyway, so I guess the thing is why I'm bringing this up is because so we did the next morning I called a friend who's a computer programmer and they had just gone through the situation. They said, we'll be able to recover it. So that was, good. But through that, I was trying to go through all the steps and I was kind of caught and I didn't know how to go through the model of all the 5 steps. I knew I felt the anxiousness. I felt the overwhelming. I even said to my husband, right, a bit of tears came, but I didn't stay there. But I couldn't follow through to what should I be thinking? How should I be reacting? And that's the part that we're just that's the numb part that I want to connect with. So
yeah.
How can I connect with that part?
So you might not like my answer, but the best way to connect is to actually allow yourself to feel all of the feelings that are coming up. And when we learn about how powerful our thoughts are, we're like, let's just get onto the part where I think the really powerful thought and I feel better, right? Mm-hmm. Because that part's so fun. And really that is the life-changing part of this work in a lot of ways. But the other really powerful piece of this is learning how to allow emotion without judging it, without numbing it, without rushing to get out of it. And so I think when you think about what happened, okay, I potentially lost everything from the last 8 to 10 years. Do you want to feel just fine about that?
Well, like a thought or like a judgment that I know I was making against myself was, why do you always do things in haste? Like, why are you always rushing through? Was what I saw as the problem with this situation. So that came up.
Yeah. And so here's what I would suggest. I know that is that's really great awareness. And I think that that is a thought to be looked at, right? Mm-hmm. But in the moment when you've just realized, oh my goodness, it's all gone, and you're processing through that, I would spend some time processing through the feelings. So feelings happen in our body, right? They're triggered by thoughts. Our thoughts trigger chemicals that are released into our body that create the emotions, the feelings, the sensations. Right. But we can't switch those feelings until we process them through in our physical body. So sometimes we're like, I want to think through my feelings so that I can like get on with life. But feelings have to be processed in our body. So for example, let's say you got stressed out in the moment and you had adrenaline and cortisol. Those are two of the chemicals that were probably going on that go on when we get like stressed. The adrenaline will spike really fast and then also come down really fast. But the cortisol, if it goes up, takes like an hour to come back down. So giving yourself some space to just go, okay, I'm stressed about this. I know it's coming from my thoughts, but I'm going to allow myself to feel this in my body. And that could look like sitting down and like doing some deep breathing, right? Like just breathing in, breathing out, noticing how your body feels. Sometimes I kind of like narrate to myself, like, this feels like my chest is so tight, or I feel this like ache in the pit of my stomach, or like my heart rate is up, or just like noticing all of the physical things that are going on, doing some deep breathing. Sometimes it's like going for a walk or like crying, like think physical, anything that is a physical way that you can process the emotion.
And so you kind of need to release. Are you saying like it needs to be released? Like either, either breathing or walk or cry, or like it needs
some kind of physical action that's attached. Because the thing is when we just think more, it just creates even more thoughts and emotions, right? Like it's almost like we pile it all onto ourselves and we're like in quicksand and we're like sinking under the weight of all this because we're thinking more and more and more thoughts. What we want to do is
we're hiding it, like we're stuffing it or hiding that original thought, right? It's like just put another one, and we don't need to deal with it.
Right. Okay. And sometimes we're doing that to run away, but sometimes we're also doing it like we're almost kind of indulging in it. We're like, well, yeah, this is really terrible. And we, kind of go down that like self-pity route. That's more my MO than numbing. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to let it take over and just go as far as it's going to take me. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to drop down from our heads into our bodies, right? So that's why deep breathing is powerful, because it's like, I'm not going to do this spinning anymore. I'm going to experience the feeling in my body. And then when the intensity of it passes, which the initial intensity of an emotion is usually 90 seconds to 5 minutes, right? It's not a long time. But if we resist it, that's what keeps it going and going and going. And it can go on for days, weeks, months, years. Like, this is why people have like physical ailments that come up from unprocessed trauma. Because in the moment, they didn't know how to process the feeling physically. And so the feeling literally got stuck in their body somewhere. A great book on this is called The Body Keeps Score. And it just, I've heard of the book. It talks a lot about this. So if you're somebody who has trouble processing your feelings, that book would be super helpful. Okay. But then once you've kind of allowed it and you've noticed it and you've experienced it, what you'll do is you'll check in with yourself again, like maybe check in with yourself 15 minutes later. How do I feel now? An hour later, how do I feel now? And when you've noticed, okay, like the intensity is down, like my heart rate's back to normal, like my palms aren't sweaty anymore, I don't have that pit in my stomach, that's when you go, okay, what was I thinking that was creating all of that? Because now your brain is in a space where it feels safe. When the cortisol is up, that's like fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so your brain's like, don't give me new information. I'm trying to survive here. Like, I'm trying not to die.
Yeah.
So if we're like, oh, new thought, our brain's like, no. There's no room for new thoughts. So once that comes down, that's when we can go, oh, okay, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking, what was the thought you said? I'm hasty, or
I do it in haste, and I do things without, like, just too quickly in haste and out of desperation. That's the other word. Desperation is,
Okay. So when you think I do things too quickly, what does that make you feel? What emotion?
That makes me feel like I'm like second guessing myself or judging myself and not confident in myself. Is that a feeling?
Okay.
Confidence?
Yeah. So not confident.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not confident. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you're feeling not confident because you're thinking I do things too quickly, then what action do you take? Or what action did you take in this situation when you were feeling like, oh, I do things too quickly? What's wrong with me? Is that when you started,
I don't know,
calling people all that stuff, or no?
I disengage from the next part of this process.
Okay.
Like
you kind of shut down.
Like I get to there and then it's like I just shut down. I don't know. I can't verbalize. I can't connect with the rest of the stuff, which I don't like.
Do you mean the rest of the stuff in the process of like the model specifically?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it makes sense. Like if you're thinking I do things too quickly, and then it's almost like you're shaming yourself. Like I feel like maybe the word is shame.
Shame. Yeah, that would be better.
So then whenever we feel shame, it's interesting. We think, like, maybe not consciously, but we think shame's a really powerful motivator. That's why people, we shame ourselves and we shame each other a lot. But it's a terrible motivator. Shame does not motivate a person. It might change our behavior for a little while because we feel so bad about the shame that we're like, oh, I don't want to feel that again. So we like change our behavior. But ultimately, it's not a loving way to bring about change. So it makes sense that you shut down from the process, because now you're probably telling yourself like, I don't know how to do this. I'm no good at this. I don't have the language for it. It's not working for me. Is that kind of thing going on? Yeah. And then the result is you just prove to yourself that you don't know how to do it because you've shut down and you're not trying. And you're telling yourself you don't know, right?
Right. That's the part but that is exactly, I guess, deeper down what I'm actually thinking, feeling, and it's like that is so, which is not the truth, but that's what I'm feeling, and that's what I'm attaching to, is that shame and that not being confident, that, and
why do you think you choose to think I do things too quickly, or I don't know how to do it?
I'm not sure. I think I have to sit with that.
Does it feel like a choice?
that I do things too quickly or not. Yeah, like it
Does
feels
that
like
that thought feels like a choice?
it
That's what I
feels
mean.
it feels like a choice, and I guess
Mhm.
it's because it's like I feel like I just need to move on because there's so much to get done. The thing, part of for indecision is a huge hurdle for me too. So then if I don't make, like, it's like we were supposed to do this 2 days ago, we didn't do it. It's like just get it done. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm doing it now out of haste, out of desperation, and then it's like it blows up, and it's
Yeah.
like so that indecision is attached to that whole.
Yeah, that's an action that comes from the shame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Indecision is an action. Okay. Huh.
I mean, the thing I think it's so fascinating. Like, I'm like, it's so cool, but maybe it doesn't feel cool. It's so fascinating that, like, your brain is wanting to get on with it so quickly, probably because there's a part of you that believes it's going to be better when you get there. That's usually the belief that causes us to rush ahead. Is we're like, when I finally get there, when I get that thing done, when I reach that number, when I pay off that much debt, when I have that many followers, making that much money, blah, blah, et cetera, then life will be so much better. So we're kind of in a rush, right? But when we recognize, like, hey, it's going to be the same over there as it is over here, in terms of the fact that I'm still going to have thoughts, I'm still going to have feelings. About half of them are going to feel great. About half of them are going to be difficult. It's not actually better over there than it is here, right? That might be a thought that could be powerful for you, is reminding yourself when you start feeling in a rush to go, it's not actually better over there than it is here. Here is what I have right now.
Here's what I need to deal with right now.
Yeah. And to just move yourself out of that rushed space, because anything that you create out of desperation is just going to recreate more desperation.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you the result you want.
Not the hamster wheel I want to be on.
No. And I mean, this is for all of us. When the action we take is not as important as the energy that we're taking it from.
Mm.
So the goal is not take a whole bunch of action just on its own. The goal is take action from an empowered place internally. Take action from, I believe that I can do this. I believe that this is possible. I believe that I have enough. Like, so I think a thought for you maybe is like, I'm learning to believe in myself. I'm learning to believe I can do it, you know, or something like that.
Okay, yeah, that is, and I know I do, like, I'm stepping out in different things, and I'm not being indecisive. Like, I'm making, like, okay, yes, I'll do this, or I'll follow through, or I need to do this.
Yeah.
I do feel like I do believe in myself, but it's those other times where, I guess it's those times where, yeah, these old patterns that are just like still hanging on. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I was muted there because I had to cough. Didn't want to cough in your ear. Yes, it is definitely a default setting. And when you make decisions and when you take action, you're just doing it you probably are doing it from a different thought. It's probably not from the thought, oh, I always rush everything, or, oh, I can't do this. Right? So that's really good to know. It's like, whenever I'm taking action and actually making a decision and it's going well and I'm getting a good result, that's all coming from my thoughts. So we got to give ourselves some credit. Like, you're here now because of the thoughts that you thought, right? Like, that's amazing. And sometimes when I work with clients and they're like, I can't believe this happened and this happened. And I'm like, but that's why you're here now. And that's incredible, because this right here, this work that you're all doing is like you showing up for yourself and you investing in yourself and you believing in yourself and loving yourself. Like, You thought the thoughts that got you right here. So you're doing a lot right. But we're just talking about what's the next step? What's the next level? What is like thriving even more look like? So I just want that just like baseline of like, it's not that we haven't already been doing thinking so many good thoughts that are creating so many good results. It's just, we want to kind of zone in on like, okay, well, where is there still room for growth and to get me to that next level and to get that new result? Did I tell you guys last week about the $3,000 thought or the $5,000 thought? I feel like we had that conversation. Like I met with my coach.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, this is what we're thinking of, right? Like we're thinking of, okay, the thoughts that have gotten me to where I am now, how can I upgrade some of those to get me to the next level? So one of the thoughts that I was thinking is like, I hope I can figure this out, or I think I can figure this out. And that was getting me a certain result. But now I'm like, no, now I'm ready to start thinking, I know how to do this. Not I'm learning, I know, right? Mm-hmm. So we want what feels like a weight we can lift. So I'm learning is an amazing phrase to attach to any thought that your brain is struggling to believe. And maybe for you, it's like, I already know that I think sometimes like I can do this. So maybe it's not I'm learning that I can do this. It's like I can do this, or
more consistent, right? Like more consistent, yeah. more checks, or more like, check.
Well, and noticing more often when you're not in that space and being able to go, oh, my brain's trying to tell me that I can't do this and that I always rush and that whatever, and I'm just not going to listen to it today. Like we can override that primitive brain, but we can only override it when we notice it. That's why awareness is so powerful, because we notice it and then we're like, oh, I literally sometimes tell myself like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that thought. Right. That thought has already taken up so much of my time. And now I don't have time for it anymore. I'm done. And it helps me, for me, because I'm such a person that likes efficiency. I'm like, that thought's not efficient. It's not productive. Sorry. I hear you, but no. That's good. So sometimes we have to be kind of like firm with ourselves. Remember that primitive brain is like a 2-year-old in traffic. Like it needs to be steered back to the straight and narrow. Like, come on over here, sweet one. In love, right? Like that's why I like to think of my primitive brain as a toddler, like a 2-year-old that I love, like my son. Like he's 2.5. He's ridiculous. Like his brain does not fully function. But I love him. Yeah. That's what we need. We need like, my primitive brain will not make the best decisions, but I love it. So I'm going to lead it back gently, not shame it, not judge it, not hate it. Just notice it. Oh shoot, there it is in traffic again. Yeah. Back over here. We're not believing that thought anymore because it's going to get us smacked by a semi-truck.
Good. Yeah, that helps. That helps to kind of bridge and then feel when I'm like, I need to
feel the feelings first
instead of just cover.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to work on.
Feel all the feelings, give yourself that space, and then do the work of the model. That's probably why you're getting stuck, is because you're feeling so much and trying to process it all while you're feeling it. Mm-hmm. Great question. Naila asked me, did I say that indecision is an act of shame? What I mean by that is in her model, the shame is motivating her indecision because she's feeling like, I don't know how to do this. So I don't know how to do this creates indecision for her. Does that make sense? It can become like indecision itself doesn't always come from shame. It can come from other thoughts and feelings too. We have like 10 minutes. Does anybody else want some coaching? We can get a lot done in 10 minutes. Or other questions?
Okay, I have one. It's kind of related to last week's. We talked about meal planning and food and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just turning my phone.
I just got dizzy.
Sorry.
That's fine. I'm joking.
I have a hurdle, I think, that my brain can't get over, which is like with like trying to eat fruit and vegetables. I have a strange syndrome called oral allergy syndrome. Basically, it just means I have spring allergies, and then my body thinks that a lot of fruit and vegetables are tree pollen, and then I'm allergic to them. So I'm allergic to almost every single fresh fruit and vegetable and nut.
Okay.
Which makes snacking hard because I'm like, what do I eat?
Yeah.
Banana. There's only so many bananas I can eat. Like, I can eat bananas, and I do. Okay.
We all agree with that. Like, hands up if there's only so many bananas you can eat. Oh my gosh. My kids would be like, don't tell me to eat a banana again.
Yeah. So then I guess like my default thought is like, what can I eat? I don't know how. Like, I can't, like, but there's so many ways I could, like, I could steam anything or roast anything, or, you know, like, I can't eat them cooked because there's like, it's a certain enzyme, the heat kills it. It's not that complicated.
Yeah.
But I guess I have this thought in my mind, like, well, I can't because of this thing.
Right.
But it's not true. But I know it's not true, but I just still have that thought.
Okay. So the main thought is I can't eat healthy snacks. Is that
like eating healthy is like extra hard for me. Like it's kind of like almost like an kind of like
eating healthy is extra hard for me.
I mean, it is a little bit.
I love that. It's so great. Isn't it our brain so sneaky?
Yeah.
Because we're like, that's true.
Like, it is true, but like it's not
fact.
impossible.
But it's not actually true. It's just a thought. Right? Like, it's different for you.
Yeah, it's different.
But it's not extra hard.
Well, I mean, I would argue that it is because I can't eat the apple till I cook it.
Well, and here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, I'm just saying that it's not like a Googleable, like a fly on the wall observes it and goes, oh yeah. And everybody in the planet agrees with it. Fact.
Okay, that's true. Yeah.
So, and I'm only pointing that out to say it's optional. And here's what we always want to evaluate our thoughts on. We want to look at them and ask ourselves, does this thought serve me?
No, that doesn't serve me.
So the beautiful thing about that is you don't have to think it, right?
Okay.
Even if you have evidence to prove it's true, which you do, you're like, well, it takes longer, I have to cook it or whatever. So you have the evidence, but you still get to look at it and decide, does it serve me or not? Because if you decide it doesn't serve you, then you can think something else.
Yes.
So when you think eating healthy is extra hard for me, how do you feel?
Like taking an easy way out.
Yeah, so like unmotivated or discouraged or
kind of like pity party, go easy on myself.
Okay.
Like
self-pity.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, not like extreme, but kind of
no, but like, well, you can't have that. So yeah.
Yeah. So then the action is you don't eat fruits and vegetables. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. There's not a lot of action.
Okay. And do you want to be eating fruits and vegetables?
Well, like, yes, because I want to be healthier.
Okay. So you want to be healthy.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I want to do healthy things.
Perfect. So then I'm only asking because if you don't want to, like, then all this work's not really helpful.
Oh, no, I do really want to.
Okay, cool. Because I don't want to, like, get you eating fruits and vegetables if you're like, I'm not interested in eating fruits and vegetables.
No, I'm really interested in it.
Okay. I love this so much.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in it. So the result that you're getting right now is that it is extra hard for you because you're in this mode of, like, kind of feeling pity for yourself. And then when you think about doing it, you're like, oh, it's going to be like all this time and all this effort and it's going to be so hard. Yeah. So what if you thought something else? about the fruits and vegetables. What else could you think?
I don't know what else I could think. I don't know. Like, I could think it's possible.
Okay. How does it's
Like-
possible make you feel?
A little more motivated.
I think we could go like a step further. I'm
Yeah, it
feeling
doesn't
like
make me feel a lot.
I feel like
more
that's like
motivated.
a 2-pounder. What's
Okay.
like a 5-pounder?
Okay.
What if it's like, this is the thought that keeps coming up for me, is like, what if it's like cooked fruits and vegetables are so much better than raw?
But are they?
You can think it if you want. It doesn't even matter. We can't Google
I want
it
to think
either.
true things.
No, but this is the thing, is like, you think that there's some kind of like true statement out there, absolute truth about vegetables and fruit. There's not. You can't find it on Google. What's better?
That's
Cooked
true.
or raw? For you, raw is not better.
No.
So maybe it's, for me, let's add in that for your brain. For me, cooked vegetables are way better than raw.
I think I would be. I can't believe that one.
No?
No. Sorry. Like, I don't think that's true.
That's fine. You don't have to. What else could we throw at it? Do you prefer raw vegetables? Is that what you would normally eat if you could?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you ever eat them, or are you always allergic?
No, I'm always allergic, but
Oh, okay.
it kind of like progresses. So like, I think I'm at my max now, but kind of throughout life, I start reacting to more and more things. So
Okay.
one by one, I just stopped eating all the things.
Okay. So why can't you believe that cooked is better than raw?
I don't know.
Okay. What about I'm learning? Let's add I'm learning. I'm learning to believe that cooked is better than raw.
I don't think I'm going to believe that cooked is better than raw.
Why not? I'm just curious. You don't have to, but I'm just really super curious about this.
I think because like, it's just so nice, isn't it? To take a piece of fruit and just eat it. Isn't that nice?
I don't know. I'm thinking like, ooh, I'll take some apples and saute them with like a little bit of like cinnamon and butter and like, I don't know. My brain is, when my brain thinks cooked is better than raw, it all of a sudden starts offering me all kinds of examples. I'm like, kale chips. I mean, they're so yummy. Or, I mean, it doesn't have to be kale chips, but like whatever it is for you. For me, my brain's like, oh, I love a good roasted beet. Like, give me roasted beets all day and night. I'll eat them. That would be like an amazing snack. But it's just, the only reason it can come up with all of that is because it's believing a thought cooked is better than raw. So the only reason I suggest that is because if your brain can believe something like that, and we don't have to use that one, we can come up with something else, then the prover part of your brain will go to work trying to prove that new thought true.
Okay, yeah.
And it will serve you, because the result will be, I eat more veggies and fruit, and I think this thought that is like actually empowering for me because it serves me. It allows me to honor my body and what my allergies are without seeing them as like holding me back, or this thing that like I have to, it's always going to be extra hard for me. Woe is me. I can't be healthy.
Yeah. You know, I think I probably like, my brain has really worked a lot to prove to me that raw is better than cooked.
It sounds like it.
It sounds like, I think actually my brain really believes the other way, like a lot.
Yeah. And the cool thing is like it doesn't have to keep believing that. Your brain is also super neuroplastic, which means you can change that if you want to. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be to what I'm suggesting. It could be, I'm trying to think of other examples. Like it could be one that's fun is to create the feeling of curiosity. So it could be, I'm going to do, I think we did this even. Didn't you do this last week? I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to experiment for a whole week believing that cooked is better than raw, just to see what happens.
I don't know if we did that last week, but
Did we do that with the meal plan?
no, we just decided that meal planning equaled freedom.
And how did that go, by the way?
Better.
Yeah.
Like I didn't sit down and plan for a week, but I did try throughout the day, like before supper time, to plan and prep what we would have for dinner, which was nicer than at supper time being like I had no plan.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's try that. How does that feel to experiment? Like, I wonder how good I could feel if I thought cooked is better than raw.
I'll try.
Okay.
I just feel so much like I'd be like brainwashing myself to believe something that isn't true.
I get what you're saying, because sometimes people will be like, Heather, that's delusional. And I'm like, yeah, but so is what you're saying. But mine has an upside. Right? Like if your delusion had an upside, I'd be like, think it. Believe it. Cooked is better than raw, or raw is better than cooked. Believe it. It has such a great upside for you. But that thought for you has zero upside.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like I just really want to believe true things, but what I believe isn't necessarily true anyway. So why?
And is this something we can do a general consensus of the population? And you really believe that 100% of the people will say raw is better?
Well, no, there's always people who are wrong.
This has been my favorite 10 minutes of my day. I have to tell you. This is amazing.
Okay. Well, I'll that's a very interesting thought to me. Like, why? Yeah, like that doesn't feel true to me, but thinking it isn't less true than what I am already thinking.
Right. Both are opinions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
And so
both are opinions.
Yeah.
Neither are those are true or not true. You know what? I think I'm going to have to just sit with that thought for a while.
That actually might be super helpful, just to like put it back on the table as like, oh, this is a choice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Work with that.
Okay.
Oh, you guys are amazing. This was so much fun.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Okay. So, yes, Joyce, that's what I was thinking too. Different ways, creative ways to cook fruit and veggies. I'm like, let's do a little flambe of bananas and I don't know, whatever they do with bananas to flambe them. Rum? They always did that in Cuba. I got married in Cuba and they would do like flambéed bananas over crepes with like a caramel sauce. Like I want to make it right now. Cooked is better than raw. I'm sorry, but that's just my new belief, my new delusion. All right. Thank you guys so much. If you have other questions that come up throughout the week, please put them in the Facebook group, send me an email. I'm here for you. Want to just cheer you on and support you. The other thing is I did a little upgrade on my website. So if you decide to stay and keep going with us in June, I'm going to be sending you an email that will show you how to create your member profile on my website, and then there'll be like an actual like members only area. You'll log in and you can put in your payment info there, so it's just recurring and I don't have to send out invoices. So that'll be coming, just a heads up about that. And then the one other thing is I'm considering the possibility of switching my evening call to Wednesday. So I'm also going to send out a bit of a questionnaire and find out if that would be an option for people. Do you guys just want to tell me in the comments for you guys if Wednesday is an option? I'm just trying to rework my schedule a little bit so I'm not working every single evening, but flexible, great. So yeah, that's something, again, just like for a heads up, and that would probably, Wednesday doesn't work. Okay, Wednesday works. Okay. So that's something I'm thinking about, or maybe even alternating, something like that. So those are the little housekeeping details. And otherwise, I will see you guys all next week. We'll talk to you later.